what Jesus called the kingdom of heaven, right? The what the dimension of space.
Yeah.
It's featureless. And the only way to point to it, so like we talk about ostensive definition. I said, well, you learn by, the taste of a carrot by someone saying, eat this. That's the taste of carrot. And that's ostensive definition. Well, so can I point to this ground of, can I use ostensive definition? And I think I can. It's just not new to me. Lots of spiritual teachers do this. They'll say, what I want you to do is ask yourself, I wonder what my next thought is going to be. And then just wait. And that space between, where you ask yourself that question and you wait for your next thought, that is my finger pointing to, that's what I mean. That is the space of the dimension of space, what Jesus called in translation the kingdom of heaven, what other disciplines might say the one, or the Almighty, or whatever. That is the source of everything, and it can't be described. But then neither can your conscious experiences, right? If you've never tasted rhubarb, mm-hmm. I can talk to you all I want about it. It was sort of like cranberry, and it's sort of like a sour apple, right. and you're not. I mean, until you actually taste rhubarb for yourself, you don't know what rhubarb is. You have to taste it for yourself. And what this trace logic is saying is every observer has exactly the same infinite measurable space, and so I should, in principle, be able to point to it. And every observer should be able to experience it by simply letting go of any attachment to any particular experience. And then realize that at your essence, you aren't just the matrix of experiences of the conscious agent theory. You are far deeper than that, where my theory doesn't go yet. It just points to it with this measurable space and stops and says, there lies a deep mystery, but I think I can point to that mystery in your own personal experience by saying, ask yourself, I wonder what my next thought will be, and then wait for it. During that space, you are encountering where my theory stops and where I suspect all theories stop. But I'm never going to say that, because someone who says we got the final theory or we can't say anything more has always been proven wrong. So I'm just going to say, right now, Hoffman can't do it.
Yeah. And so that sort of brings me back to what we were talking about at the beginning, which is, and you sort of maybe briefly mentioned this, just about religion, but there's always been so much antagonism between science and spirituality. Maybe less so now, but it still seems that there is a lot of maybe resistance, but maybe even a stronger word than resistance from, there's just a real resistance to thinking this way, to thinking that there is something that is, I guess, outside the physical, something that is transcendent, something that is beyond what we can see and touch. Do you have any insight into why science seems to have been, at least, to me, seems to have been very, very, very resistant? And there are obviously people who have taken it seriously, of course, but just generally speaking at large, I mean, you've even sort of alluded to sometimes in things that you've said about that sort of resistance, and eventually maybe people will come around. And I'm just wondering why there seems to be so much resistance to this sort of thing, and almost now we're coming back around to, because even at the end of your theory, we're still looking for, as human beings, we're still looking for the asking that why question and wanting to connect with something deeper, and it does seem that it always comes back to God or something like that, some notion of something transcendent that we can connect ourselves with. And it seems to be coming back to that all the time. We can't really get away from it. And especially if science is going to now be leading us there as well, science, like as a whole discipline, is going to go there, then I just wonder what's going to happen. What are your thoughts about any of that?
Well, the historic antipathy between science and spirituality is seen in the treatment of the church in Galileo, right? So the church it thought, certain authorities that told it the nature of the world, and the earth is not at the center of the universe, according to science, but according to the church, it was. And so Galileo had done all these experiments that convinced him quite properly that one need not think of the earth as the center of the universe. And so the church put him under house arrest. He died in house arrest. And and Galileo wrote eloquently about the authority of the church could be completely overturned by the compelling logic of one man. And he was right.
Mm-hmm.
And the church was wrong. And they apologized centuries later.
Yeah.
They admitted they were wrong centuries later. But that is the fundamental difference between how religion typically operates and how science operates.
Mm-hmm.
Religion typically operates not on hypotheses with experimental data and then revision and so forth, but on authority. This says it in this book, and that's the final truth. And my interpretation of what it says is the final truth. And from the scientist's point of view, nothing that you can say is the final truth. But what you better do is say what you say precisely and tell me what predictions your ideas make.
Mm-hmm.
So be precise, don't depend on authority, and make predictions that we can go test. Because we know every theory is ultimately not deeply true. It will be replaced by a much more deep theory, every theory. And so it's a fundamental difference in attitude toward knowledge and the acquisition of
Mm-hmm.
knowledge. As a scientist, I completely reject any claims of authority. I have the attitude, prove it. Give me your logic, give me your reasons, give me the experimental evidence. And when I look at how I was given authoritative statements all the time in church, and now I go read just the Koine Greek for myself and realize that the interpretations that were pounded on the pulpit were fundamentally wrong. I mean, couldn't be more wrong than they were. They were 180 degrees away from what was originally intended, and they were authoritatively pounded and I think to bad effect, to negative effect. So what I see as the hope going forward is that see what's happened is the spiritual traditions, I think, have some deep insights, including Christianity, but also the Eastern. There are deep insights, and they're valuable. And then there's a lot of nonsense. I was raised in a lot of nonsense, deplorable nonsense, but deep truths as well. But what spirituality has not done is have this rigorous, mathematically precise approach to things. It's been an authoritative one. As a result, as a hard-nosed person today, you can say, okay, what should I be believe in science or spirituality? Well, let's see, who's doing better? I got an iPhone. Who gave me that? Was that the spiritual traditions or was that science? Oh, that was science. Oh, okay. Okay, how about my car? Well, that's not spiritual. Is there any technology that spirituality has given me?